Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cyclical Investors Club YouTube channel. My name is Corey Kramer, and today we are going to be analyzing Cloudflare. This one came in by request down in the comments of one of my other videos. If you have a request, put it down in the comments, and I will make a video for you. Some of them I post on, I would say most of them I post on YouTube, but some of the lesser known ones I'm posting on Patreon on the free tier, so it's still free. But if you, and I'll let you know if you're the one that requested it, where it's posted, if it's not posted on YouTube. As always, this is not individual investing advice, just how I analyze stocks. Okay, Cloudflare. So let's first take a look at the historical earnings here. So IPO somewhere around 2020-ish, it looks like, and started earning money a couple years later. That's really good. That's what we want to see. Big time earnings growth. Now this past year we got like 50%. And now things are expected to slow down this year, earnings-wise, and then pick back up again later. So I have a specific strategy that I designed for growth stocks, just like Cloudflare. I don't own this one, but it's basically designed to kind of buy them right around this period. I think I was maybe waiting for GAAP earnings to get positive, which I don't think they've quite done yet, right? So that's why I didn't end up buying it. But definitely been watching it. I can't remember. They might have been added to the S&P 500 too. I forget, which is probably explains this spike here. So the question is about valuation. So I have a strategy that I set up for that. It's a little bit more detailed. I made a video on Patreon. Even at like the $5 tier level, you can go watch it. If you want to see that breakdown, that was like from mid last year. But this is going to be my kind of standard earnings based time until payback analysis. And I'm going to adapt it for a company that, is a fast growth business. So the idea behind this strategy is if you own the business and you paid like $100 for it, how long would it take them to earn $100 back on your $100 investment in the company? So if you buy it and it earns a 5% earnings yield, so $5 a year plus 20% growth each year, how long would it take you to collect that $100 back? Now it gets a little tricky for these fast growers because they can have these really fast, these growth years that are kind of unpredictable. Like earnings grew 360%, 277, and then 53. So when I'm trying to model out earnings growth, I cap my earnings growth assumption at 20% a year. It's very hard over the long term. It's very hard for a business to grow faster than 20% a year over the very long term. So especially, I think these guys are like 40 billion already. Yeah, so they're already a $44 billion company. And so I try to be realistic, and that keeps me out of a lot of trouble. Just because when things start going well, they get hyped up a lot, and well, you can just look at it. I mean, it's trading from the real hype cycle, it's still down 40%, right? And it keeps you from buying this over here. Now it gets more interesting once they start earning money and you get some numbers that you can like do something with. And so what I like to do with these, because I cap my earnings growth rate at 20%, I usually pull forward the first year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume analysts are correct about these next couple of years of growth, which are both more than 20%. And I'm going to use $1.41 per share of earnings for my analysis. And sometimes that can be a big difference. Like if I did it here when earnings were growing like hundreds of percent, my estimates wouldn't be too low. Well, they might be too low, but they're less likely to be too low. I actually think if I use these estimates and then I assume they're going to grow 20% more each year after that, that's actually very optimistic. So I think but it can really give you perspective on how overvalued or undervalued. Usually it's it's almost always overvalued, almost never undervalued. They are, because sometimes, just look at it here. So the stock price is down 25% in a month or something. Yeah, basically 25% in a month. So it starts to get a little interesting, and you're like, oh, Cloudflare is down 25%. Well, this helps to give you some math and some numbers to like put with it for context, right? We can look back at this, which isn't too dissimilar from that little hype bubble, and it fell over 80%, right? Even as earnings improved, right? So the fundamentals got better and the stock price fell 80%. That's what happens when you overpay. And this is why having like some sort of system to kind of keep your head out of the clouds helps. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use a 20% earnings growth rate assumption. This is the $1.41 from, it's really 2.5 years forward, but I'm always pulling forward the first year anyway. So what I'm going to do is determine how long it would take you to earn your money back as a business owner. And then I'll add 2 years onto that at the end. Okay. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to assume they earn $1.41, and that's an earnings yield of 1.17, which is very low. So I expect their PE ratio is probably over 100. Yeah, 167. So very expensive, right? But this will let us know kind of how expensive, because when the numbers start getting that big, then who knows? Like, it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around it. But yeah, earnings yield of 1.17. So really what that means is if you bought the business for $100 and in 2 years, if earnings grow as expected, you'll earn $1.17 on your $100 investment, right? And remember, you're trying to ultimately collect another $100. Like, so you start to see how expensive it is. Like, you're really paying a lot of money. And then I'm going to assume earnings can grow every single year consistently, 20% per year after that. And the earnings will grow at 20%, not the value that you pay for the business plus the earnings, right? So the $1.41 will grow it, and I'm going to pull forward growth for the first year too. So let's go down here. So we have our 117. I pull forward 20% growth the first year. So again, more optimistic. Again, assuming if there's a recession, they just grow through it. So on your $100 investment, a couple of years from now, you'll earn $1.40, and then the next year $1.68, and then the next year $2, and the next year. And so you collect these each year. And I want to know how long it would take to earn $100, and it would take about 15 years. But we also have the 2 initial years that we skip forward. So 17 years is what you would be looking at, time until payback. S&P 500 is around 15. So this is more, which is expensive. 17 is more expensive than that. So it's very expensive. It's very expensive. And then given their pretty decent size, like if it was a $4 billion company and not a $40 billion company, you could say, well, they could grow at 20% for a long time potentially, depending on the company, the industry, and all that. It's much harder when you're a $44 billion company to grow 20% a year for 17 years. All right. Really hard. So, one stock in 1,000 will do that. Right. So then the question is, well, when would it be like a decent buy? Well, even using what I think are generous assumptions, in between $43 is what I have here. I would say in between $40 and $50 is kind of where you would be looking at a decent buy potential. And I would also want positive momentum, right? So because we don't have like a recession or anything baked into any of this stuff, if the stock price starts collapsing and we have a recession, like all these numbers could be worse. They could have negative earnings growth, who knows, for a year or two, even if everything eventually works out pretty decent. So when the stock's in free fall like this, actually we have a good example over here. I already showed you it fell 80%, right? So it can do that again. And where did the stock bottom? Did we get under in between 40, got under 40, okay? So really what we want to do is, or what we would need to have happen. Now this will change if earnings are pretty good. Maybe earnings grow 15% or 20% this year. That would raise the buy price because it's a fundamental analysis, right? But most likely what you kind of want to happen is you want it to fall, or you would need it to fall down to like $40 and then start to recover and be on the uptrend. And then somewhere in between 40 and 50, it could become a buy over the long term if the fundamentals are still looking good. So that's how I would approach Cloudflare, any other company kind of in a similar situation. And yeah, and hopefully, and also I would want it to be GAAP profitable. Whoops. So I already showed it earlier, and they aren't yet. They're pretty close according to the metrics I have in my other spreadsheet. So, oh, I guess it did come up. All right. So yeah, almost there. I mean, they're close. They're close. So it could definitely happen. Okay, if you found this useful, hit the like and subscribe button. I have a weekly picks over on Patreon for $25 a month. Those have been, they're still positive since October. I started in October. Average return is still positive and beating the S&P 500, but it's been a pretty tricky environment. But it's still going. It's going well. So if you're looking for ideas, if you're dollar cost averaging, that's a great service. And then I have the full Cyclical Investors Club service over on Seeking Alpha. That I've had since 2019. So we're in our like 7th year over there now. And those links will all be down in the description. All right. Thanks for watching. See everybody later.